Alright, Sunday on the rooftop. Alright, this morning I have been running, what have I been running? My 07 and my PC-01, and I have done a couple of drives with a couple of different tires on the 01, which was quite interesting because, like I was saying on the test, the first time I did a test drive on the 01, using the GL F tires front and rear. The rear are the Marca, fairly soft. The front are from GL Racing, and they're fairly hard. And well, they are really less grippy in the front than they are in the rear. And so I try to replace them by my regular PN Racing front and rear tires with the 14mm rear. And although it felt quicker, the quicker time were actually done with the GL tires. So what it feels like is not always what it actually is. Alright, another interesting thing as well, this amazing piece of technology that is the Easy Lap system has decided this morning to not have any more sound whatsoever. So I have redone some sounds, but now I find out how we can set up sound. So I think I'm gonna download my own sound, and I'm gonna have fun with this thing. This is a handful. This software, it's seriously a handful. So we will see. The PC-07 has lost a pin, so I'm gonna have to refine a pin for it, but I want to drive a little bit more with the F1 to begin with right now. And yeah, you see I've put the transponder basically inside the halo, removed the transponder box. I didn't want to stick it outside the body, and there is hardly any room at all to put it anywhere decent. So here is okay. It doesn't really, you can't really see it while driving. It's not bad. So I'm gonna try to put the body without removing everything. Put the battery, I should say, not the body. And so yeah, this I'm seriously happy because I've managed a 6.8 lap this morning, which is a very good time for this track. Anything below 7 is excellent. So this means the F1 with the GL tire is actually doing pretty great. So we have contact. So it is very jumpy because the whole setup of the car is way more stiff than the regular PC, which I think is going to be super beneficial on the RCP. It isn't beneficial at all on my track. But aside from the fact that it's hopping around everywhere, it's actually not that big of a deal to drive like that. So if you've been looking at the track, you know where the cars usually jump. Here I need to take on the insides, and in the main corner I need to take on the outsides to avoid the bumps. Otherwise you'll see the car jumps here, yeah, 4 wheels off the ground, and if you take the inside here, it's quite jumpy as well. But other than that, I'm really happy with the GL. Sorry, I'm gonna make people angry. The PC-01. Yeah, it is not a GL. It is not 114mm. And yeah, the one thing that I've had to do for the first time, which I never do, is actually put some tape under my tires at the rear, because I've lost my tires a few times this morning. That's a first. But I have to say, the printed tires front and rear, not tires, rims front and rears are awesome. So those are all going on the store this early next week, this coming week. Durability test well passed. I have had really a ton of crash, especially with the 07 that is open wheel in the front. Those rims are super sturdy, so there's not going to be any breakage whatsoever. So now I have, well, rims for the Classic, which are the 9 spokes that have the drum brakes at the back. So those are 2-wheel drive narrow for the rear and all-wheel drive narrow for the front, with 0.5 offsets. for the F1 car, so basically designed for the GLF tires, which is what I'm running now. There is the +1 narrow in the front and +1 and +2 for the rear. So right now I'm running the +2 at the rear, so the wider stance, the wider track. And then what do I have? I have the 9 spokes for all-wheel drive. So for two-wheel drive, I should say. I have the large one and the narrow one for the two-wheel drive, so for the bearings, 0.5 offset. And I have the 4 spokes that are going to be probably at the moment only for the Lotus 7, just because I don't have that many, so they're gonna go on the kits for the 7, but they are done. They look really cool. I'll show them to you. They're here, right here. That's the 4 spokes. I've painted them. You can, maybe you can't see, but there is a tiny disc brake on the inside. The F1 and the other cars have a larger disc brake. So cool little feature when you paint the rim. You can paint the disc and you just know it's there. It's a cool little thing to have, I think. You know, even though, ow, boy. You know, I'm not in the quest for scale, but I still think, oh, this is my motor that has been moved. My pinion is quite chewed on. I'm not so sure how long the pinion is going to last. I've kind of chewed it this morning. Yeah, the teeth are round. And I don't have a tool here. Crap. Alright, I'll be back. I have my tool. I actually lost the tire holding the motor at the back altogether, so that's why the motor moved from its desired place and the pinion was grinding. So that pinion is probably toast, but I'm gonna drive it to the ground until there's no more plastic left on it. You should last me for another battery or two. Is there? Wow. Yeah, there's a lot of play there. Okay, let me try to squeeze it in. Oh, and I'm gonna show you something that I bring down. I had a comment last time, either on Facebook or YouTube, I can't remember, about the T-Rail, the six-wheel F1, which is a car I would really like to have. I have never owned the Tamiya one, but I remember seeing the Team Saxo driving when we were doing some F1 Sundays a while back. And so the thing about the T-Rail, of course, is that it has those very small front wheels, and well, you can't just get them for minis, so those I think are really good for the rear of the T-Rail. And this is what I came up with for the front, those very small rubbers. So I'm gonna have to redesign a rim, and I think what I'm going to do is, because those have such a small tolerance, there is pretty much not much space, you see, between the wheel and the little pin here at the bottom, that I think I'm going to do the T-Rail chassis with the not floating front end, but this is going to be part of the main chassis. This way the front will be lower, those will have more clearance to the ground, but I think those tires, 2 over here and then the bumper in the front with the GL size tires at the rear, are going to be a pretty good match. So I have to do a test chassis in order to see how those rubber behave. They are not really well profiled. They are 22 Shore, I think. They are fairly soft, but I don't really know how grippy they will be. So I'm gonna have to do a test chassis plate, see how it goes, and go from there. If those rubber make sense, if they work, then it will be a go for the T-Rail. If not, then it's gonna be back to the drawing board. But yeah, my goal for the T-Rail is to be able to keep pretty much every part that I have for the PC, including the front end, and the only difference is going to be the main chassis plate, probably, that will have something like that mounted twice, but I have to figure out how to link the steering together. So this is still a work in progress, but I'm working on it, and yeah, that's what has been the time so far. Well, we have a 7-1. Alright, so it's in the 7. The best is a 7-1. Let's see how crunchy my gear is now at the back. It's better. So yeah, that's the... I was saying, for the first time I have had to tape my tires at the rear. I actually not taped the tires. What I have done, I've just done one diameter or around one roll around the rear tire with a painter tape, masking tape, which is pretty thick and pretty rough, and then I slided the tire again on top of it, and they're okay now. I had flying rear tires, especially on the right hand side of the car, a couple of times today. I had them as well yesterday. I was driving in the rain, not in the rain, I was driving on the wet track, which I am yet to upload that video. That was a lot of fun. But the wetness got into the rims, and then the tires were getting out all the time. You're not counting anymore, are you? Oh, yeah, that's why I don't hear the beep beep sound. Alright, so 7.1 with chilling and driving at the same time. It's not bad at all. I really can't wait for the tracks to reopen again so I can finally bring all my chassis to the RCP and see how it goes. I am so used to drive on my matte carpets that I'm quite interested to see how my driving is going to be. Now you gotta remember that normally I drive 110, 112 scale electric cars on the asphalt, and I only started the minis basically last February when I started doing the mini buddies. And so in February of 2020 I bought a Mini Q6 in order to have a car to be able to design the buddies around. I tried driving the Mini Q6 a little bit, which wasn't great. I bought my first Mini Z kit for my son, which was fairly terrible as well, and I have modified it to do my first trike in 3D prints, the first prototype of the trike, and then I bought the mini RCP track that have the narrow lane, the one for like the drift championship or something like that. So that was kind of fun. And from that I bought the Atomic AMR, and then I designed the classic chassis, and so that's how I started. And for the longest time I was just basically designing the cars and not driving the cars. Then I found out about two local tracks, probably, I forgot when, probably last April, and so I've been there. Well, the videos are online, so you know how many times I've been there, because I filmed every time I've been there. So probably I drove 2 or 3 times only on the RCP circuits, and then the track closed, so I've built my rooftop tracks, and then you know the story, the first tracks, the first one, and then the one that you have currently in front of your eyes right now. So I have a very weird mini driving experience, because I have no experience on RCP pretty much, and the last time I drove on the RCP, to tell you how long ago it was, is when I did I was driving the Mini B2B with the FR4 chassis, where I did the first flex cuts to test before I launched the carbon fiber version. So it's a while back. It is a while back. I didn't even have a working prototype for the Classic at the time. So I was basically driving the AMR with my cheapy Chinese remote control. I didn't have micro receiver to use my Futaba. I didn't actually think that I was going to get into the Mini Z driving, or I should say 128 driving, because I don't actually drive Mini Zs. But after I got the track on the roof and it was pretty much impossible to drive outside, I started really enjoying the format, because I mean, look, to be able to do what I'm doing right now, knowing that in Hong Kong we live in shoeboxes, this is pretty amazing, you know. Now I know my shoebox is slightly larger than other people's shoebox here. I think we have 600 square feet, which is fairly amazing for Hong Kong. So I'm part of the lucky people, if you accept to live near the containers and in the middle of triathlons. you can get a pretty good living in Hong Kong. If you want to live like the rest of the city, stacked into 50 floor buildings with a shopping mall at the bottom, then life gets smaller. But so, yeah, to be able to enjoy driving RC cars and actually racing them and having the timer and everything daily is a real luxury. And then I really get into the format because it is, first of all, it is always the best thing on earth to be able to drive your own cars. I mean, anybody who customized his RC or prototyped an RC knows the feeling when you've engineered your own little machine, you tweaked your own little machine, and you can drive it and it performs. This is just heaven. But I think the format itself, it's really interesting to have really good. I was expecting basically the 128s to not behave like remote control cars behaved, and I think the RCP kind of is what gave me that feeling that the cars were too grippy for the track. And this track is a bit more, let's quote unquote, realistic because it's bumpy and the grip is variable. So yeah, I'm really into the mini thing now. It's good. Once again, not mini. I'm sorry. I'm not Kyosho. Ooh, look at that. Probably you won't see anything, but I have a 685. That's pretty awesome. Things that it must have been a 683 this morning. So this is great. 40 laps in 5 minutes. Okay, that's good. This is good. This car is dialed in. I'm really happy about that. So the only thing that I'm going to do differently for that, so you can see I have a big gaping hole here because I was originally using, well, the original steering rack, and the original steering rack is pretty tall, and so I have now lowered it and I'm using the super small bars that I have for the classics over there in the front. So I don't actually have to cut that big of a hole in the future. Well, let me vent this a little bit, clean the hair. Alright, my batteries moved, but didn't disturb the driving too much. I am still amazed at how much I've been able to squeeze in such a narrow frame. And the good thing is that, like I explained last time, those ESCs, sensorless ESCs, I am getting a bunch of them, so it's not going to be a problem anymore for people to get the chassis and try to figure out. If you get a PC-01, you can put pretty much any electronic you want in it, but if you get the classic, the new classic, or the 7 or the 01, you need very small electronics in the car because space is a premium. So those, I'm gonna have them. I'm gonna be able to redo the wiring to use a mini JST 1.25, which I received yesterday. So I will rewire the ESCs. The servos are now in JST 1.25 as well, so it's all ready for the micro receivers. And yeah, this is going to be good. Life is good, my friends. All right, let's go again. A little bit more of a training. So now that I have lost all the sounds and figured out where the sounds were on the Easy Lap, I'm going to go back to my computer later and I'm going to download a crap load of silly sounds and cool sounds and sounds from video game, and I'm going to try to make my own soundtrack for the Easy Lap. And if it works well, I'll make it available for anybody who's got an Easy Lap system. So I'm interested to know what people think of the PC-01. I understand from the angry scale mini drivers that not being a long wheelbase is really like blasphemy to not have a long wheelbase Formula 1. I get that. I actually have a long wheelbase Formula 1 in 110, and sadly in 110 nobody wants to drive a scale Formula 1. Everybody wants to buy the Tamiya size ones. So long wheelbase seems to be very important for people who drive mini Zs, although I have to say I really have a hard time finding contemporary videos of people driving either the Kyosho F1s or the GLF. There was a lot about the GLF when it was launched, and the LMP version of the GLF, which I think is a super good looking car. I think they are, I forgot if it's a Toyota lookalike body they have on it. But so I would like to know. I personally, I'm not thinking about scale. I'm thinking about designing a platform that can suit as many driving classes as possible, and that is super inexpensive to run, and so it would allow people on a budget to have a somewhat competitive pan car chassis that they can switch around for a few bucks into different classes, including open wheel, F1, 7, hatchback, GT trucks, and so on and so forth, depending on what I can come up with. But of course it is 98 mil wheelbase, so there is a scale difference. It is not a conform copy of the F1 car. I don't feel, but I am biased to the way I look at the car because I make the car, I designed them, so you know, it's like if you have a super ugly child, you're gonna still think it's the best looking. You know, if your child looks like Sloth, you're gonna still think he's a handsome fella. So I might have designed a Sloth, and I'm looking at it like it's a Brad Pitt on wheel. However, maybe you guys let me know, what do you think of the car? I think it looks decent. It looks like an F1 car on the track, and well, the fact that it's 98 is just my platform is 98, so every car I'm doing are going to be based on 98, except the Tyrrell. But how do you do the wheelbase of a car that has 6 wheels? I don't know how to calculate that wheelbase from the first to the last wheel. Oh, thank God, the sun is leaving a little bit. It is baking. So the track is much better now. I have soaked it in water yesterday. First time driving around this morning, we were collecting an amount of hair. It was like driving on the millions of cat's cadaver on the floor. So I vacuumed it, and now it is really decent grip, I'd say. And the tires, the more I'm using them on the GL tires, the better they're getting. So this is good. This is all good. And you can see my little cork that I've used to make the little sandbanks on the sides of the corners there. I think it's really helpful visually to have those curves marked when I'm driving the car. I'm really, between the white line and that, this is really good for visualizing the curves. So I think I'm going to do it in more corners. I still have another cork boards to use. They're not super big, but I think I should have enough to make the corner over there. I'm going to do the lane out of the pits probably. And I might do something here. I am not sure, but the pit lane, the exit of the pit lane, and this corner right here, I have enough to do that for sure. Alright, you hear that beautiful buzzer sound and the revving engine. That means my 5 minutes timing is over. So what have I got? Not great, but at the same time I got a 7.9. Yeah, the battery, this is the third drive on the battery, so it is to be expected that the performance is going to go down a little bit. Overall, pretty good. So guys, give me your feedback on the PC-01. I know I'm saying that every day, but parts are coming. Another big thing that is going to come, because I think I have sold out all the carbon parts for the B2B, the mini trike. So I am now going to update the B2B and the Classic to the new chassis, which is the chassis using the PC pod at the back. Plus I'm going to have the electronic for it, so it's going to be a no-brainer for getting the parts for the car. the chassis that allows you to use any other pod, including the Mini Q2 or any other Kyosho or PN pod, is still going to be available, but I think they're all going to come with this one. That's going to allow me to lower the costs of production quite a bit. So get ready for a new version of the B2B, the Mini B2B and the Classic Mini to pop up as well in the coming week or weeks. And on that note, everybody, stay safe, stay sane, and I will see you soon.